The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion has many quests that leave the player yearning for more information and background knowledge well after said task has been completed. In the last video, we discussed the Daedric prince Vermina's sinister hold over a wizard who got too greedy and stole a Daedric artifact. This led to the wizard being forever tormented in his own twisted and disturbed nightmares. Well, in this video, we'll go over another quest and some theories that have likely not been presented before, which leads us to a mysterious and concerning place in Cyrodiil. It has left a curious and disturbed impression on many other players. This is the quest that is simply titled Shadow over Hackdirt, and the mysterious village in question is that of Hackdirt. The quest begins by the hero of Kvatch entering the city of Coral. There, either by chance or on purpose, an NPC named Dharma will interact with the player. Once the player leaves Coral and comes back 2 days later, new conversation topics will pop up labeled Dharma and Missing Daughter. By speaking of these topics with the townsfolk, it will point you towards another Argonian woman named Seed Neas. Seed Neas is Dharma's mother and tells the player that Dharma went to do a delivery to the village of Hackdirt but never returned, and asks you to look into finding her daughter. Your two leads are talking to an NPC named Etira Moslin in the village, or locating Dharma's horse Blossom to see where she could have possibly went. The next move is to travel to this mysterious village in question called Hackdirt. Hackdirt is located in between the cities of Coral and Skingrad. Arriving in this village, you'll note that it's pretty small and very run down with lots of damaged and worn out houses. It has an inn, a shop, and a chapel as its only attractions. What's even more interesting is the way the inhabitants look at and talk to you. There is a very hostile and dismissive aroma with the player, practically as if you're disturbing or interrupting them. By asking around about Dharma, everyone will tell you that they are unknowledgeable about her whereabouts. Even the character Etira Moslin, whose grandfather Erlov founded the village, and who you're told to directly contact with, will claim to not know anything about Dharma's location. At a loss, the player moves around the village looking for clues, anything to determine Dharma's fate. That is, when one piece of evidence finally shows up, the proof that everyone has been lying to you. Located behind the shop, Moslin's Dry Goods, in a ruin of a house, there, the hero of Kvatch finds Dharma's horse, Blossom. Now knowing the truth that Dharma was and could still be in the village, by going back to talk to Etira Moslin, she still denies knowing Dharma's whereabouts and claims that Blossom actually belongs to her. By doing a little bit more sleuthing and going to the inn, there's a room with more evidence of Dharma being there. A diary can be found in the room that details Dharma's life in Coral. The only entries of note are the last ones. To summarize what they say, the road to Hackdirt is rough and not maintained, leaving one to wonder how many people actually come in and out of the village. The trader whom she was supposed to meet with, Etira Moslin, wouldn't meet with her seemingly as it was after dark. She had to stay the night at the inn where the proprietor kept making creepy faces at her while he thought she wasn't looking. Apparently, there is also something off about his face in general. She's the only one staying at the inn and remarks that the village gives off an overall spooky vibe. Before she goes to sleep, she keeps hearing footsteps outside her door, but chalks it up to paranoia. This is where the diary entries end, and the player is left with more questions. However, the townsfolk will simply continue to tell you that they are unsure as to why the diary was left behind, and more than likely it was just forgotten about. Another interesting conversation piece that pops up is about something called the Brethren. No one will actually discuss with you about what that is or who they are. The only bits of information we get is Etira giving us a creepy message that will be visited soon by them, and this is true. 6 big-eyed, crazy-looking people come to attack. One of them should have a Hackdirt key on them when looted. Another run-in with the Brethren is when asked about, and the player decides to stay a night at the inn. A member of the Brethren will charge at you in the middle of the night and attack you. Another place the player can investigate is the chapel. A bit more of a hidden object, at the front on an altar there's a book titled Bible of the Deep Ones. When looked at, it reads, "Given to me by the chief of the Deep Ones. He taught me his language and his runes. This is the ancient lore of his people, which we shall follow from now until forever. Signed in the presence of 12 witnesses." Erlov Moslin. As we know it, Erlov Moslin is Atira Moslin's grandfather and one of the founders of Hackdirt. And following that are quite a bit of runes that are not legible, but appear to be a form of Daedric writing. Alternatively, here as well, you can discover the conversation topic of the Brethren. Back onto the subject of Dharma's diary, when asking around even more, you'll note that only one villager is willing to be helpful in aiding your search. Jiv Hiriel is a local Imperial bard who was quickly dismissive of you upon arrival. But now that word has spread of your search and rescue quest for the Argonian, he will say to you, "Shh, we can't talk here. They'll get suspicious. The girl is in danger. Meet me after dark in my house. I'll leave the door unlocked. Don't be late." Unknowing if this is a trap or an actual lead, we have but one choice: to meet Jiv in his house during the nighttime. Upon entering Jiv's house, he appears truthful that he wants to help our cause in locating Dharma. When asked about her, he responds with this: "You have to believe me, I didn't know what they were planning. They want to bring back the Deep Ones. I thought I did too, but she's so innocent. They've got her down in the caverns. They're going to sacrifice her. You understand? You've got to save her. Here, take this key. It'll open any of the trapdoors down to the caves. Every house in town has one. The one in Moslin's Inn is your best bet, nearest where she's being held. The middle of the night, when everyone's at the gathering. Good luck. You will save her, won't you? I gotta go now." So from what we just found out, it seems not only has everyone been lying to us about not knowing where Dharma is, to make matters worse, they're going to kill her for some sort of sacrificial ritual. And, to make matters more confusing, they're doing it to summon something or some things called the Deep Ones. Before we leave this conversation, there are a few more topics that can be discussed with Jiv. Some of these might shed some light on interesting lore and theories about this town. The first topic is the Brethren. The player can find little tidbits about a mysterious group called the Brethren around town. When asked about them, Jiv responds with, "Those of us who've changed the most, we call the Brethren. Live down in the caves, to be near the Deep Ones. They don't like the sunlight much. Dangerous, too. You'll want to avoid them if you can help it." What does Jiv mean by "those of us who have changed the most"? And more importantly, what does he mean by "they live in the caves to be closer to the Deep Ones"? The next topic you can ask about is the Deep Ones, to which Jiv responds with, "I don't know much. Never seen them myself. Our grandfathers first found them. I think, digging in the mines. They helped us. Made us rich, but there was a terrible price, blood, and worse." With even more questions and even less answers after that one, you can ask about the caverns, to which he replies with a statement along the lines of every house has a trapdoor down to the caverns, they're caves that run beneath the town, some were dug out by the Deep Ones, and some are natural. The final conversation piece you can talk about is the town of Hackdirt, to which he replies, "I was only a boy when the soldiers came. We hid, vowed revenge. But the Deep Ones never came back. Atira, she's the one that found them old books, learned the runes, how to speak to them again. But they want blood, she says, or they'll not help us." That answers the question of why there are so many burnt and destroyed homes, but now we gain information that there are certain books that exist with runes on how to speak to these so-called Deep Ones. This is very important information for the lore and theories we'll discuss later. The next steps are to go into the caverns where Dharma is trapped, ready to be sacrificed. The best way to the caves is through the inn like Jiv initially suggested. When in the cave, the player will run into members of the Brethren, who are hostile and will attack on sight. Villagers of Hackdirt can be seen down here as well, but will not attack the player unless provoked. Brethren can be slain in front of them with no consequences. Eventually, you will find a cell with Dharma located in it. It's recommended to keep her in the cell with any Brethren that might still be around, as Dharma can actually be killed. Alternatively, you can open the cell and leave a weapon in front of her, which will cause her to pick up arms and fight at your side, but can still be slain if she is overpowered. Once defended and threats are gone, you and Dharma can leave the caverns to make your escape. However, you notice something strange on the way out. A guttural, deep, loud growling could be heard echoing across the walls of the caves. It's like there is something in there with you, perhaps trying to communicate, or something worse. Either way, it's too dangerous in the cave to find out, and you make your way out of the stony prison. Once above ground, Dharma insists that she needs to find Blossom before you leave. Lucky for you, you've already located her position and know exactly where to go. Either with Dharma or without, you retrieve the horse and make your way back to Coral. Once back safe, Seed Neas rewards you and the quest is then completed. There's no closure with the village of Hackdirt and no further knowledge with what's going on there. You're unable to tell anyone else of the events that transpired. If you choose to return to Hackdirt, you're met with more hostility and more open attacks from the Brethren and even the villagers. Your experiences there live and die with you and Dharma. Now let's talk about a theory as to what the Deep Ones are, or who it is. Let's start with the facts in a timeline. Jiv and Atira's grandfathers founded the land that is Hackdirt. They discovered deep in the mines entities that are coined the Deep Ones. These entities help the townsfolk mine for desired minerals and materials. However, the cost was worship, which includes sacrifices and what is likely having the most devout followers slowly turn into something else, something monstrous. Soldiers eventually came to Hackdirt, whether with or without knowing what was truly going on, discovered the heinous truths, and ultimately destroyed the village, driving the Deep Ones back into another plane of existence and sending the villagers back into an economical depression that they've never really been able to recover from. This is likely why they are rude to outsiders. They probably don't get many visitors, but also, the last time notable guests arrived, they destroyed the village and severed the ties between the paganistic entity and the residents. As for what the Deep Ones could possibly be, remember when Jiv Hiriel mentioned that Atira Muslim possessed the Bible of the Deep Ones, and that Bible had inscribed runes to talk to and eventually summon the Deep Ones? Well, while looking at this Bible, we notice these runes are very identical to that of Daedric runes. Is there a Daedric prince who could have made a deal with these villagers? In exchange for good fortune while mining, they would sacrifice innocent people and slowly turn themselves into hideous creatures. Well, yes there is. That is the Daedric lord, prince, or old god known as none other than Clavicus Vile. Clavicus Vile is the Daedric prince of insidious wishes and bargains. He is best known for entering pacts and granting wishes with the people of Nirn. Clavicus deals with mortals who wish for something or want something so bad they are willing to summon him and bargain for it. This is possibly what could have happened when the settlers first came to this village. They wanted to find precious metals in the mines below and made a deal with the Daedric prince to do so. On the other hand, if this isn't convincing enough, Clavicus Vile is known for his trickery and deceit, especially when making his deals. He also has the ability to split off portions of himself to create new entities or beings that carry out his work for him. So, maybe another angle to this is knowing these poor and unsuspecting settlers arrived at Hackdirt, he took advantage of them based around their current circumstances. He appeared as a mighty, knowledgeable clan of creatures that told the settlers that all they have to do is worship him in exchange for becoming a prosperous town. This included sacrifices and slowly turning themselves into monsters. The story then unfolds with a group of soldiers coming to the village, knowing the true identity of the Deep Ones, and completely destroying Hackdirt, and with it, the knowledge and ability to talk to and summon the Deep Ones, aka Clavicus Vile. Since then, they have not had the ability to continue the proper worship and rituals to reconnect with the Daedric Prince, until, after all these years, Atira Muslim recovers a book titled The Bible of the Deep Ones, where she learns how to use Daedric runes to communicate with Clavicus Vile, who then tells her she needs to sacrifice innocent people and slowly have devout followers turn into other beings. If you're also wondering what gain Clavicus Vile gets out of this, in the Elderscrolls realm, the more praise and worship a god gets, the more powerful they become. Therefore, by sacrificing and praying in the name of Clavicus Vile, he obtains more strength and power from this arrangement. There are plenty of other theories on what's happening at this village, covered by a lot of other lore channels on YouTube. I recommend checking them out if you're like me, and even after 17 years since release, occasionally think about the strange and disturbing happenings of the Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion.